Today's sponsor is Advancement Courses. Stay tuned at the end of the show for a special coupon for 20% off any of their grad level professional development courses. Making better videos and movies with students. This is episode 297. The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today. Let's talk about making videos with kids. Today, we're talking with an expert on the subject, Joe Brennan, Creativity and Innovation Specialist, and he is in Illinois. So, Joe, where do we start making videos with kids?
Anywhere you want to. I'm a big proponent of using it in any classroom with any subject. I teach a graduate class, and I challenge my teachers to do it regardless of what they teach. And the math teachers and the science teachers and the PE teachers complain that it just wouldn't work in their discipline. And after a couple of weeks, they figure out it can.
What would be an example of a video you've seen in math or in history?
One of my favorite ones in math that a teacher did was the division sign as Eeyore. And It starts out with a lonely division sign sitting perched on a chair, I guess. And it says, "Nobody likes me. Every time a teacher says we're going to divide, there's a groan in the room." Then he kind of becomes the division sign and describes what you have to do when you divide and how it's the opposite of multiplication and things like that. And he just kind of puts a human voice, not necessarily a face, on it, but talks about the application. So that was, I think, that was a fourth grade or fifth grade math teacher.
So I make videos in my classroom and digital film, and you want to have a purpose though. So how does a teacher start off finding a purpose and then helping their kids plan out their video?
Do they want to review? Do they want to introduce something? It depends on what class it is. And I go right back to the writing process with this, whichever model your school uses to teach kids how to write. I always kind of boil it down to the old tell-ems method. Tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them. So you've got the introduction, body, and the conclusion sort of a thing. But you can do that visually, and that is much more memorable for the kids when they kind of see it and hear it at the same time. I downplay using music. It could really be a crutch. We don't want to make music videos.
Joe, take us through an example of how you've coached a teacher recently through this process of making videos with their class and the objectives that you covered.
So we try to employ PBL sort of tactics. Whether we're 100% PBL or not is up for discussion, but I have a fifth grade class that just finished reading Night of the Twisters. So they made videos on disaster preparedness, tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, you name it. My favorite ones are the ones where the kids kind of do a newscast and go to they're at a desk like you see in the nightly news, and then they go to reporter on the street, use a little green screen. They can be in an earthquake, they can be in a flood zone, can be in a hurricane. Then they talk about what people have in their preparedness kit. I forget what else they pick up from the novel, but they employ all those things. So I guess there's a little aspect of a book report in there, big aspect of current events, kids making an argument, presenting themselves, public speaking.
So they've decided their topic. Are you big on scripting, storyboarding? How do you help them get ready to shoot?
The quickest, easiest thing to do is shoot and edit on the computer, iPad, whatever your device is going to be. The big thing is preparing. So if it's pay me now or pay me later, pay me much more later sort of a thing. So we want a script. We want a storyboard. Of course, you can edit things in post, but the more you can line up ahead of time, the more you know what's coming and which each team member's part is going to be. Kids take turns. They're either behind the camera or in front of the camera, or they're on the side doing some sort of coaching or moving props in. But definitely you want a storyboard, you want a script, and keep those separate. I also like Jason Oler's story map idea, and you can almost simplify that using the story spine sort of a thing. Once upon a time, something happened because of that, because of that, because of that, and then eventually you come to the conclusion.
The scripting and the storyboarding is something the students really, I know in my classroom, they'll fight me on it, but it just has to be there. Otherwise, you just end up with a mess. And I don't know why kids think that you're just going to go shoot the next viral YouTube video. And it just doesn't work that way, does it, Joe?
Exactly. It's like stream of consciousness writing. If you didn't have an outline or do a first draft before you put pen to paper or started typing, it shows.
So you guide your kids through the scripting, through the storyboarding. You use Jason Oler's story map idea. And then what do your students shoot on? I mean, my students shoot on gimbal, and they put their phones in it. And then we usually rip off of their iPhones or their Droids, and then we pull it into something called Pinnacle Studio. So what do you use with your kids?
Oh, Pinnacle Studio, nice. We use iPads and iMovie.
Awesome, and iMovie is incredible. So they're actually shooting on the iPad and then pulling it right into iMovie, huh?
Right, and they also have the Do Ink green screen program.
Oh, so you have where's your green screen at your school?
Anywhere we want it to be. This was such a big hit with the language arts teachers that our 5 language arts teachers got their own green screen. I have a portable one I lend out from my center. I also have 2 green walls in my studio technology office area. They can shoot anywhere. One of my favorite pictures is we have an open balcony area, and we've got 3 green screens set up, and kids are using both sides of them at the same time.
Wow. Well, how's that for audio, though, huh?
Well, that's a challenge. But
Yeah.
the kids have also learned the trick that you don't have to get the dialogue. You can do a great job with narration, tell a first-person story, and your character can be in the picture, but your voice is coming sort of like in retrospect sort of a thing. Almost if you watch Young Sheldon, I kind of love the way that old Sheldon talks about what young Sheldon is doing on the show.
When you do have actors and you do have audio, that tends to be the most difficult piece of what I do with my students is capturing good audio. I mean, we actually invested in a Rode microphone set, which is pretty expensive to be able to capture that. But it's so difficult to get good sound off your set, isn't it?
It is. And I've got some iRig mics that when the kids do their news broadcast sort of a thing, they can use. But the more I can get them to narrate their story, have live actors or have pictures they borrowed from the internet with historical people, and then do a narration in post and use one of the nice microphones, or at least get closer to their iPad in a more contained area where they don't have a lot of background noise. Works much, much better. And it also helps them make a shorter story. You just don't want kids to make something more than 3 minutes. And if they can do it in 60 or 90 seconds, that's even better. If you're not fighting dialogue and people working through their lines, if somebody's doing it with a narration, you can get the same amount of information, more information in that short time period.
Joseph, finish up. What's the simplest way to start?
You just do it, but you've got to prepare. You've got to get that script. You've got to get a storyboard, get the idea what your pictures are going to be. If you're going to borrow things from the internet or use still pictures or use something else besides live video, get all that stuff lined up first.
Okay, teachers. So making videos, making digital film, it's an incredible way to really enhance learning in every subject. And I know in my own classroom, it's one of the most exciting things that we do. And I've actually added another digital film model, this project this spring, just because my students are really into making digital videos. It does take a little bit of work, though, and you do have to plan ahead. Thanks, Joe, for this great advice to help us make better videos with our kids.
My pleasure.
Need some great professional development? Today's sponsor, Advancement Courses, has more than 200 graduate-level online professional development courses for K-12 teachers. You can take these courses for continuing education, salary advancement, or recertification. And these courses have us teachers developing tangible resources to use in our classrooms immediately. Go now to advancementcourses.com/coolcat and use the code COOL20 at checkout to get 20% off any course. With this coupon, a 3 grad credit course is only $359. So go to advancementcourses.com/coolcat to learn more and use the coupon code COOL20. Never stop learning. Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.